Thank you, everyone, and happy Earth Day. Welcome to our third annual Sustainability Sketch Crawl. This is our second one done virtually. And we have today our very special guest, Pete Scully, who is a local artist and great urban sketch crawler who will be guiding us through what he does when he sketches. And because it is Earth Day, we are wanting people to focus on sustainability in your world, even as we're all sheltering in place. Think about the sustainability aspects around you. I believe that last year we sketched, or Pete sketched a bike, and I was there and I was sketching just a reusable water station around me. So there's sustainability aspects all around us, even if we aren't on campus and working together, and I'm hoping that you all will be able to reflect on that as we sketch sustainability with Pete.
So yeah, hi. So I'll just introduce myself again. My name's Pete Scully. I work on campus and I keep a lot of sketchbooks. I draw all over the place. I occasionally organise sketch calls in Davis, and yeah, I try and draw as much as I can. Now I typically draw in a sketchbook, usually one that looks a bit like this, not usually with all these stickers on it. I've just been to Utah. And what I tend to do in my sketchbooks is I'll just take it everywhere and draw whenever I have a moment to draw things, such as if I'm on campus and I'm drawing some of the construction that's going on all along, that's on Hutchison. There's a lot of construction going on over there. Or if I'm downtown, I might just stop and draw a house. But today, because everything's going to be done virtually, I'm not on campus. I did actually I did set up trying to use the campus Wi-Fi to do Zoom and a virtual sketch call, and that didn't really work. The campus Wi-Fi was a little bit too slow for everything to connect, so I decided to just stay at home. I've been going on to campus at least once a week though, and I was on campus yesterday and I did a quick drawing of the tri-co-ops using my iPad. So I'm going to show you the process of how I did that by sharing my my screen, because this will just show you how I put the drawing together. And then I've got a picture of normally I would be drawing something in that's right here, but I saw this amazing rusty wheelbarrow yesterday, and I thought I would draw that, but it's going to have to be from a photo, which I always prefer to draw from life, but this one was too nice to pass up. So let me just try to do a share screen. Hold on. Okay, let's see if this works. Just tested it. It should. Screen mirroring. The background I have today is the Arboretum and some plants. Okay, so I use the Procreate app when I draw, and I use an Apple Pencil. This has been really nice. I mean, I go through a lot of pens, not super sustainable. You end up having to throw them away. I don't have to throw this away yet. This is great. So I'm going to have a little quick look at this drawing I did yesterday of the tri-co-ops. I've drawn this building before, so it wasn't really a massive deal trying to draw there. So it's gone sideways. Okay. Now the tri-co-ops obviously has that lovely garden area. It seems to be quite a good theme for a sustainability place on campus. And I was having a little mooch around. That's where I found the wheelbarrow I'm going to show you. Oh dear. But just to show you the process of this, one of the great things about Procreate is you can work in different layers. But I try to draw this as I would in my sketchbook, and I typically do a little bit of a pencil lay underneath just to sort of plot things out. And then I go right in with pen and detail. And quite often the pencil bit underneath won't actually be in the same place at the end of the day. Like some of the windows, some of the roof might be out of sync but that's okay because the sketch itself kind of grows a bit organically. One of the things I don't always do, I don't always add in a lot of shading as I'm doing this bit. But some of the shading was quite dark, and I wanted to kind of like keep that while the light was where it was. As you're drawing, things tend to, the light tends to move around a bit. So if you're really interested in the shadows, then basically, basically what I do is I'll sometimes draw the shadows first, because that's the thing that's the thing that would have drawn me to draw the thing I'm looking at. Sometimes I want to draw things on campus, and it's the wrong time of day. It's too dark. Like the front of Walker Hall is often too dark to draw. I have to wait for a cloudy day to get a good look at the details. But anyway, I just paused here because I thought, well, should I just leave it? Sometimes I'll just leave it as the pen drawing, and that would be quite sort of that'd be fine too. But I like throwing in lots of color. Davis is quite a colorful place. We have the sun shining. There's no reason to leave things as they are. So that's when I started adding a bit of color. Now I'm obviously doing this digitally, but I'm trying to sort of recreate how I would do it with my watercolor set, which is what I usually use. But the great thing about working in Procreate is you do have layers. So you can put the colors behind the black lines, which you can't really do in your regular sketchbook, so unless you're using like a pen that really shines through any watercolor wash you're putting on top, sometimes it tones down the ink work. But yeah, so that's generally how I approach a drawing like that. Now I'm just going to share something else. I'm going to share a picture of a wheelbarrow, and that's what I will be drawing now. So let me just see if I can do that again. This was a wheelbarrow that I was on my way to get my my COVID test, so I didn't really have a lot of time to sit and draw this one, but I thought this would be a good one to draw today. I love rusty things. Obviously, this wheelbarrow has seen a lot of use. I'd say it's probably had quite a sustainable lifespan, and clearly gets a lot of use now. And it's in the Tri-Co-op Gardens. But I'm gonna attempt to draw this, and what I'll do is I'll share the screen on my iPad so you can see as we're going along. But I'm going to sort of draw this over the course of this next sort of half hour or so. So what I'd recommend for you is maybe sort of pick something that you want to draw and maybe start drawing that now. Some drawings can be done in 5 minutes. Most drawings are done in longer than that. And certainly if you want to take your time on them, I like a bit of detail. I draw detail quickly, but I do like drawing details where possible. Then maybe select something that's within your view now, or take a screenshot of this wheelbarrow and then draw that. Last year I drew my bike, so I'm not going to draw that again. I was going to draw some bananas, but I'm really into this wheelbarrow. So if you are going to draw that, now's the time for a screenshot. Otherwise, I'm going to stop sharing and move along. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Boy. Yeah, okay. I love in the tries. I love your sketch of this. I'm sitting in the garden, like sketching our solar panel. Oh, that's brilliant. Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, solar panels are good ones. Seeing a lot more of those on rooftops in Davis now. Let's see. So go back to share screen. I'm going to share the iPad again. Okay. Just wait for that to reconnect. Excellent. So just going into my Procreate, I'm going to, I usually go with like whatever the screen size is, and then I'm going to do that. So typically I'll do what I do when I normally do a bit of a pencil drawing. I'll sort of do something very, very light, a light outline. Let's see. I can't, by the way, I don't think while I'm sharing the screen, I don't think I can see the chat. So if there is any chat, maybe Sue or Camille can point it out to me. But when
Yeah,
I'm
Pete,
looking
I'll
at
let you know if folks chime in on chat or if they raise their hand or something.
that'd be great. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So I'm just I'm looking at the wheelbarrow right now, and I'm just going to sort of do what I would just sort of like say, well, there's that long line there. You see, it doesn't have to be super straight, you know. I can't really draw straight lines, but my excuse for that is there aren't actually any straight lines. Technically, everything is curved. If you know about perspective, for example, you sometimes like learn perspective. Everything goes in very straight lines. Actually, those lines are curved. If you follow them through, they curve around. And really, there's the only straight line is the one on the horizon, and the one going up and down, and that actually goes all the way around you in a big circle. So that's my excuse. There's not really any straight lines. But I actually prefer, you know, when my drawings have got kind of a little bit of a you know, sort of a messy line to them, because when you're looking at things in reality, you know, it's all from your own perspective, and my eyesight's terrible, so you know, I'm really kind of seeing it as my mind is interpreting it anyway. So yeah, so that's where that's the wheel. That would be kind of about there. Then normally when I'm drawing in my sketchbook, this is what I'd kind of use my pencil for. A little bit of and you know, a lot of the time, if I'm short on time, I'll just go straight in the pen. I've drawn things like this enough times that I kind of know where they're going to be, and I might not have got everything in the exact proportion, but you know, essentially when you're drawing, I find that you're really you're drawing the sense of something rather than the exact thing. I mean, if we want to just reproduce the exact thing, that's why we have cameras. But you know, that doesn't necessarily have like the soul of your experience looking at the thing in it. If you're drawing, for example, a pair of shoes, you can take a photo of a pair of shoes. Now, a good photographer can really make a story out of that. But I always find if you're drawing your own shoes, you know, you spend a lot of time walking in those shoes. You're drawing a piece of your own like self, you know, a piece of your history. It's like it's like every time you put your feet into a shoe, it's like you're writing in a journal. So if you're drawing your shoes, and I point at shoes because I've drawn all of my son's shoes ever since he started wearing shoes, and he's 13 now. And it's a really nice record of his life as his feet have grown. But it's really personal to us as well. Those shoes don't necessarily mean the same thing to other people. So anyway, yeah. So once I've done that, I'm actually going to create a new layer and do the pen bit on top. You know, normally on a ink and watercolor, if I've got bits of excess pencil, I'll either leave it in or I'll just like, you know, erase the bits of pencil with an eraser. Just to get rid of them. I don't have to. But with this, you know, I can't really do that unless I choose a different layer. So that's why I'm selecting a second layer in Procreate for this. I'm quite a newbie at Procreate, I've got to be honest. I don't really know all the features. I use it like pretty much in the same way as I'm just drawing on a piece of paper. It's just a convenience thing. I haven't really learnt a whole lot of the great graphic stuff you can do with it yet. But you know, there are some great videos online for learning how to use Procreate, and they keep coming out with new features. Now, I tend to use technical pen because that's what I draw with. And you know, you can create like different thicknesses. Now, you can also, you know, make it really thick by pressing down harder or putting it on its side and making it a bit thinner. That's one of the great things about the Apple Pencil. The other thing is you can just press the little go back button and change stuff. So anyway, I'm going to draw this now. I'll also say, as you're drawing your own things, I tend not to talk too much while I'm drawing. Generally, if I'm conversing with people while I'm drawing, I don't draw as fast. So I'm not going to say too much while doing this. But if you do have any questions, I'm very happy to answer. Also try and hold my sketch, my iPad, the same way as I would hold my sketchbook if I can, which is, I tend to bring it quite close up to me. I really like rusty things. I really like rusty fire hydrants and old rusty pipes, and especially old rusty trucks. I can't really draw circles very well. So when it comes to wheels, I just kind of do my best. One thing you can't do in your sketchbook is you can't zoom in and do details. You can on the iPad. And I find myself trying to zoom in on my sketchbook now and I'm a bit frustrated. probably the best person I know out there who's drawing with an iPad and likes to draw old rusty trucks is Paul Heaston, Heaston. I definitely recommend you check his work out. His work on curvilinear perspective is astounding. What's the thing when you don't have an enormous amount of time? What do I leave out? Like I was just about to start drawing the background there, and I realised that I might not have time to do it all. So I'll just draw some elements, and then decide whether to add in any more. Typically, when I'm on campus, I'll be drawing throughout my lunchtime, and so I tend to just have to draw, what I have time for, really. But the great thing about drawing is, yeah, it's great to do it all on site if you can. You can finish it later. I tend to do a lot of colouring in when I get home because it gives me something to do in the evening. It means I can spend a bit more time on the ink work on site, and that's really where a lot of the visuals come in. I prefer to do the colour on site though, because if you're taking a picture of it, the colours are never going to be the same as what you see with your eyes, never. So you often have to work from memory when working with a bit of colour later on. But to be honest, I really kind of see that as just sort of colouring in for me. I'm not super focused on getting the colour exactly right. As long as it's kind of right, that's enough for me. And I've lived in Davis long enough now to know what the colour palettes of the scenery is. Generally, I don't have to worry about taking a photo to find out what colour the sky is. It's usually just blue, which is handy. It's really dramatic when it's other colours. I did some amazing sort of like photos and paintings from my office window fairly recently when we had a big storm. The sky was just incredible. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of colour. One of the other great things about using an iPad, if you're not sure about the colours, you can take a photo of it, have it in Procreate in your iPad and just pick the colours from there. Now that's a very inexact science, I've got to be honest, because you can often be picking sort of like the complete wrong colour, but you can take a photo and you can actually drag the palette colour, the colour palette of that photo into Procreate now, and it creates a colour palette. That's had mixed results for me, but it is, I know some people really use it quite well for that. For the colouring in part, I actually like to use the markers because they do cover a pretty nice ground. The problem with using markers is that if you take your pen off and try and go over the same bit again, or it creates a darker area, and that can be quite annoying. So I find that when I'm using markers, I tend to have to color everything at once, with one single stroke. But I think it just takes a bit of getting used to, or you can use one of the other tools, such as the technical pen. But I like the feel of the marker. I have never really got used to using real markers the way that some artists are astounding at. Regular felt tip pens, but I'm just so into the line work. So I've got that brown, I've got that brown there, but I want that to be a bit brighter, so I'm just going to create a new level. So it goes over the blue and doesn't mix with the blue. Something else. Wet sponge. Good. Wet sponge quite small. Some dark down a bit. Bit of the brown. Just a bit brighter than that. Yeah, it's too dark. If you used the color before in Procreate and you're not sure how to recreate that color exactly, you can go to this little square bit on the side in between the two side bars there, and it creates a little eyedropper. So go there, I've recreated that color at the top, which is good because I want to use that again. Use it.
Pete, for the shading, are you following shading that's in the image or are you adding your own?
I'm following the shading that's in the image here. Yeah, this is pretty much accurate to what the photo has. If I was doing this in real life, this shading probably wouldn't have moved that much while I was here because it's not been very long. But if I'd been here for an hour or more, that's going to move slightly. So especially at lunchtime or just after lunchtime. Something else now. I'm going to try and use a marker just to create the colours in the background, even if they're not super accurate. work on this for another few minutes. What I'm doing now is I'm just adding sort of blocks of colour in the background that I might then just draw over. And I never work like that, but I've occasionally, put down the paint first and then added pen over the top. And it's created interesting results. Not always results I'm happy with. I much prefer doing it the other way around. But it's always good to experiment with a few different things. Oh, one thing about the marker, if you turn the pen on its side, it creates a kind of strange edge of the felt tip pen effect. Which, I don't really like it, if I'm honest with you. I really do love drawing trees now that I do spend a lot of time working on the different details and different textures of those. I prefer it when they don't have any leaves on because you can really see the branches. But it's good exercise in sort of looking at things and trying to figure out the shading when they do have the leaves on. Just the leaves mean that you can't see a lot of the buildings that are behind them. Yeah, this background is not typically what I would do. I've got to tell you the truth, but it's a fun thing to play around with these different tools. And it brings a lot more of the focus in the foreground anyway, I think. So. One other thing you can do with Procreate, you can kind of add in different elements. So let's see, if I wanted to add in a kind of a strange looking glaze over the top, I could use like a wash, a wet glaze, and then sort of make it a bit warmer by adding a bit of orange, just putting the opacity right down, put the brush size right up, and then just kind of like go around like the edges a little bit. Add in a bit of warmth. It takes away some of the glare of the white on the page, you say. Not necessarily sure I like the way I've done this particular one, but you know, that's the thing about art. You experiment. There's always another page. The even better thing about digital art is there's always more pixel space. You know? And if you don't like it, you can just go, actually, I think I'll get rid of that and leave it as it is. And I think it will actually. And then just sign off them. Not pencil. Signature too good. There we go. Happy Earth Day. Anyway, I'm done with my wheelbarrow now, so I hope you like it. Just gonna do the replay of how I went about that. Sometimes when I look at these, I look at the decisions from afar. When you're drawing, you don't always think about things, and I think it's often better to take the thinking out of the drawing sometimes, just sort of go with it. But it's interesting to kind of look at when I decided to do what. You know, oh, I decided to do that shading on the wall then. Why didn't I do that later? You know.
Thanks, Pete. That's super cool to be able to see that time lapse replay as well.
It's one of the things I really like about this this whole Procreate thing, because I wouldn't be able to like review this on one of my own drawings, and I can get quite surprised about what I did when I do this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting way of doing it. So like one thing I like to do is I like to take notes while I'm like watching meetings or whatever. I was this was during the election, which was an interesting time. But you know, obviously, I took a lot of notes while I was doing it, and it's interesting to look back. Oh, what I was drawing before that, playing around with the colours. So I was writing things as they were being said, but you know, obviously I knew that I was going to be drawing something. I'm sitting there drawing my iPad in front of me, and then trying to write down things as they're coming out of the TV. It was really important to get that can of Pepsi right then. I mean, that's the thing that you know, the things that aren't going to change, you can do those details later. If you're drawing a crowd of people, for example, you know, the people are going to move around. So maybe draw those first and then draw the building afterwards. It's usually going to be behind them. There's my cat. I didn't think my cat was going to move in that spot. All you have to do is open the windows slightly and they're there for the rest of the day, looking out at the other cats. But it's really fun to write notes while you're doing it. And I'm often doing this in my sketchbook when I'm at meetings. I'll be writing down all the things they say. When you're doing that, you don't know what the most important thing is they're going to say. I could be writing down this speech of Joe Biden, like just been elected, and the things I choose to write down might not be the memorable things he says. I mean, I've got to say, well, do I leave that bit out? And then that bit I've left out is the thing everyone remembers. You know, it's like doing the fear itself speech and not writing that bit down. So, you know, so when you're doing things live, you know, that's the thing you're always worried about. During the inauguration, I tried to do the same thing, and the poet, I mean, she was amazing. I was like, how much of this do I write down? So yeah, I've just got to open the door.
Great. And while Pete is gone, if anyone has any questions, if they want to raise their hand so we can unmute you for when Pete returns, or drop the questions in the chat, please feel free to do so now.
I'm back now.
Great, thanks, Pete.
We spent a lot of time at home, so I've got a lot of drawings of people on the couch, but this one was a drawing I did of Chancellor May and the staff assembly quarterly update. And that was another one. I was trying to write down a few things here and there during the meeting. Yeah, so it's always good to take notes. But again, it was really important. I had my can of Pepsi. This is very important. It's not massively sustainable, admittedly, but I do put them in the recycling. So
it is, yeah, a material that can be recycled over and over.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Pete, we have a request to see the sketch you did of the arches, if you don't mind pulling that up.
Yeah, so what I did here, I'll show you the first one actually, because what I did here, I went to Arches and I didn't use my iPad to sketch there. I used my my real sketchbook, and I did loads of watercolor paintings beforehand to practice the palette. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I would use my my iPad. So what I did here is, you can see the bottom one is actually a photo, and the top one is me trying to recreate the photo by looking at the photo and trying to recreate the colors a little bit. And so the great thing about that is I could use the little color picker to pick the colors out of the photo and try and simplify them as much as possible. And in this one, I used the pencil tool because I knew I was going to be using pencil a lot more in the park than ink. So it was a really fun way to kind of practice. And I've got not many layers in that one, actually, hardly any layers. It was just a really fun way to practice, and you can use something like this to practice when you're preparing for like a trip somewhere like Arches, which is so different from Davis. It's not only fire hydrants and the bike barn. I'm going to be drawing things that I don't normally see and using colors I don't normally use. I really wanted to get the colors right. So I messed around. I played around with my watercolor palette, which is this one here, and I made sure to bring the colors that I knew I was going to use when I was there. So I pulled out some of the greens that I wasn't really using and added in a lot more browns and reds and oranges, just to give myself a bit more to play with. And so this was another attempt at that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I actually ended up doing at Arches, because as I say, it is very important to practice beforehand. Camera, okay. So here's a couple more of the practice things that I did, just to try and get the different colors, especially with the sky, because as the sky changes during the day in Arches, it goes all purples and there can be a lot of clouds. But the point is, I wanted to make sure I did these in like 10 to 15 minutes, no more than that, because I knew that those were going to be our stopping times while we were in Arches. And I didn't want to sort of mess around too much and make my family wait too long. So when we went to Arches and Canyonland, I did a little bit more. That was at Stebbins Cold Canyon nearby here. As a little practice of stopping quickly and doing a quick sketch. But in Arches, I went to the real thing, and I practiced a little bit by that point. I knew what colours I was going to use. So every time we stopped at an arch, I did a quick sketch in pencil and watercolor, and I got quite a lot done. Although that's my shoes, and that's the arch that I practiced on in the. This is the only one I used pen for on the whole trip, actually. Oh, actually, no, there was a second one. But when we went up to Delicate Arch, I really wanted to get the colours right. There was a lot of people up there, but it was a really strenuous sort of hike for us to get up there. We hadn't really done anything like that before, so it was quite exciting. And the colours and the light were amazing. So I even if it's not like an oil painting perfect. This was my experience up there, and I'm so glad I was able to draw it while I was there, rather than, you know, all these ones from photos, which, you know, I can do anytime, obviously. Yeah, this one is in Canyonlands, and it's like just looking through the canyon there. I just wanted to capture some of the colors, and this one, this was extremely extremely interesting to try and attempt. You know, I wouldn't normally want to draw something like this, but I thought, well, when am I ever going to be back here? You know, so so again, it's mostly using paint and pencil a lot more than I normally would, and that was quite fun. Yeah, and then I drew a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a journal entry about it as
journaling.
well. Yeah. So
these are amazing.
So yeah, it was really fun to kind of practice beforehand. Just close this off now. I think I can stop the share. There we go.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Pete, for your time and sharing your.
Oh, you're welcome.
Your pieces, as well as giving tips. I am actually curious. Do you share these on an Instagram something where you allow people to see your pieces? Or
yes, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram at PW Scully, because Pete Scully was taken by someone I don't think is really using it. It's kind of frustrating. But also I do have a website where I do, like, you know, regular blogs about the drawings and that. I usually post a blog about with a drawing on it, and then ramble on about other stuff. So if you can ignore all the rambles about you know, football shirts and things like that, then that's where all my drawings are. And there's links to all of my sketchbooks on there. Now, all of the sketchbooks are hosted on my Flickr site. If any of you still use Flickr, that's where all of my drawings, every time I scan them, I upload them there and use them as a storage space so people can see them. And they're organized by sketchbook and often by theme. So if you were to go to my Flickr site, which is flickr.com/photos, I suppose I could put that in the chat really, couldn't I? Then you would see, for example, like all of my Davis drawings, or all of my UC Davis drawings. There's an album with just my drawings of the silo area, for example. So I'll just find the link to that and see if I can do this. There we go. Yeah, so that shows all the albums of all the things I've drawn. And, you know, during this past year, I've also done like some virtual sketching as well. I going on to Google Street View and drawing places like that. So I did Great Britain in 66 sketches, and I did like a virtual tour of the whole of the Great Britain. That's Scotland, England, and Wales. They're in 66 drawings. And that was really fun to sort of go through Google Street View and really kind of have a look at all the different places in Britain, places that I haven't really, you know, I haven't been to most of them. And, you know, it was a nice way to explore. I've started doing one for the whole of France, which is going to be a lot longer because I'm doing like much more detailed drawings in this one. And France is a slightly bigger country as well. But yeah, it's good to explore different things. This is over here. This is a book that I came out with a few years ago, and there are lots of other artists within this book who you know, sort of sketch different themes, such as Kumi Matsukawa in Tokyo. She sketches tall buildings, and so she wrote a chapter, illustrated a chapter all about tall buildings, for example. I do have a chapter in here in which is about, you know, sketching certain themes or series of stuff. So, like, for example, my son's shoes, you know, they're in here, or fire hydrants. You know, because I love to draw fire hydrants. You can probably see it with this virtual background thing going on. And old cars, you know, because I really love old cars. You can probably see it with a virtual background. So yeah, it's just really fun to draw. I like drawing.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you again. And to everyone who joined us today, thank you. Happy Earth Day, and hope you all stay safe and healthy.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Take care.